if my mom who gave birth to me is a woman, and my wife is a woman, though I haven't asked her, maybe I should. But if they're all women, and also the boy who sits down with you and says, I think I'm a girl, actually is one, then what is a woman?
Yeah. Great question. I'm not a woman, so I can't really answer that.
Ladies, gentlemen, welcome back to Black and Blurred.
Hi.
Well, I originally had planned to have our guests in the green room, but I apparently blew that, didn't I?
You did.
Okay, well, guess what, guys?
You did blow that.
Guess what? We got Team Party Pooper here with us in this episode of Black and Blurred. Monique, welcome to Black and Blurred.
Hello.
Again.
So I'm still, I planned to do some banter, but maybe now I can invite Monique into the banter because she left the green room. It was hot in there. Apparently we didn't have the Skittles she requested. And so she's here, for the intro. And when you guys, I want to get both of your thoughts. Think middle, high school, thousands of years ago.
Watch it.
I'm talking for myself. Okay. She almost came through the screen on me. So when you think talent shows, what was something that was always done at a talent show? One thing that you always remember being done at a talent show, either middle, high school time. Oh, you go first.
Dancing. You always had like a group that was gonna dance or a little bit of hip hop with some step in it.
Yeah. I know. That's true.
They got a step.
You got to step. Doesn't matter. Darren, what about you?
Poetry. Spoken word.
What type of spoken word, like?
No, it's not spoken word. It's poetry.
Poetry.
Like middle school and high school, it was like, it was Langston Hughes. It was Maya Angelou.
Yeah. Well, you already know what I have in mind because, we went to the same middle school, different high schools, but we went to the same middle school. And there was always, both in middle school and high school, there was always one poem I always heard at a talent show. We want to say it at the same time. 1, 2, 3. Phenomenal woman. Yeah, always.
Phenomenal woman.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah. That's right.
Yes.
Always. I always heard it. Pretty woman wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman. Phenomenal woman. That's me. You know what's wild? It's probably dudes reading that in schools now.
Yeah, I know.
I can't. I can't. No. There we go. Right from the gate.
Yeah. I went straight to it.
Use the Negro mother is being read by men.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh.
You ever remember that poem, The Negro Mother?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
That used to be my thing.
Yeah.
Langston Hughes.
I think I was drawn to his poetry more, just in general. But for those listening to our banter here, what you watched at the beginning of this was a clip from the documentary What is a Woman with Matt Walsh. And we're going to talk around that, but then also talk about what we're seeing, because we realize that there are people who are probably just going crazy,
right,
as they're watching these things escalate in exponential fashion. And so I believe that there are some things that kind of have been invited into the door as a Trojan horse, and then others have popped out. But maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. But I think the first thing that came to mind when I thought about us being on with you again, Mo, was backtracking and saying, did you watch or at least have thoughts about the Ketanji Brown Jackson, what is it, affirmation or whatever?
Yeah, her confirmation.
Yeah, her confirmation. That's right. And her response. To what is a woman?
I think she just plays into the narrative. I think you were being nominated because you are a woman. But now you don't know what a woman is. So can we take back your nomination? Because I'll be the first one to say that to me just makes logical sense. If you don't know what a woman is yet, we are voting on you and bringing you in because you are a woman. How do I know that you can do the job well?
Right.
If I hire a computer specialist and I say, do you know what a computer is? And they say, well, I can't really define a computer.
Yeah.
I would say maybe you aren't the best person for the job.
And you know what's interesting is that her full response was that she's not a biologist.
I'm not a biologist.
She didn't say that she's not a psychiatrist.
Right. Yeah.
So
she recognizes that there's a
biological
component.
Yeah, it's biological. Yeah. Maybe there's some hope. But you made a good point, because even before we kind of got past that, the fact that the president had a desire to hire a woman, which I think that type of thinking when it comes to choosing a Supreme Court justice, from the onset, without good qualifications, you've already narrowed the pool.
Yes.
Because we've gotten to a place which, this is something you've been fighting against for a lot, but this place where our skin color has been exalted past objective, reasoning, objective truth, all of these things. It's taken front seat. What did you think about that? Because I imagine the president speaking and saying, you know what, I'm going to hire a black woman, and having black women respond in his mind to like, yeah. And they probably did, some of them. But what were you thinking if someone says something like that?
I think that there's so much more to a person than their skin color. So to me, if you are only looking at someone because of their skin color, or because of their sex, you're going to miss your most qualified candidate. I also wonder if at any point there's a concern for tokenism, or are you concerned that you just might be showing up or being appointed to shuck and jive? Does not mean that she is not smart. Does not mean that she would not have the qualifications. I think, though, when we limit or narrow something down to two such... useless isn't the word that would best fit, but they are not, they're non-essential qualifications for this role.
Yeah,
right.
To be a justice. That's right.
Yes. Yeah. So when they're narrowed down to that, my first question, like if it were me, I would, why are you wanting just that?
Right.
What are you wanting me to do? How are you wanting me to perform? Because I fit this characteristic. Yeah. To me, it feels like, and I'm not saying this is what it is, I'm not trying to assume the intent of the president or anybody else, but it feels a bit like shucking and jiving. Like, yeah, I got my little Negro.
It's shucking and jiving.
Bro,
it's shucking and, right?
Yeah.
It's like I got my Negro and I'm working to fill a quota.
It seemed that once upon a time, people were aware to tokenism.
I know.
But now it seems like a virtue.
Yes.
It's a virtue. Hey, I'm going to pick up you, whoever you are, little minority, and I'm going to carry you. It's kind of like if you're playing tag and you have pick up something that you can't get touched. So you hold on to that until you get to home base. And it's like, and that's how the way people treat minorities. They pick it up and they carry you so that they can be untouched in whatever political agenda or whatever it is. And it's become virtuous.
Yes.
To the point where even Christians are like, yeah, hey, yeah, you get up front. I went to lunch today and was doing some prayer and some walking, and through a nice little neighborhood in Silver Spring. And every single one of these houses has some sign in it that says something that's foolish.
Yep.
One of which was it had natives on the front of it, and it said, "Go out and vote." But then it said, "For the many, not for the few." And I said, in my mind, I'm like, don't you have minorities on the front of this thing?
Yeah, I
They're
don't know.
literally the few. I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah.
But that's not the one I wanted to highlight. What I want to talk about is this.
That's rough.
There's another sign that has maybe 3 Black Lives Matter signs in it. And then one is just a typical Black Lives Matter. The other one is like an environmental, Black Lives Matter. And then the other one is a rainbow Black Lives Matter. Just me telling you that, what comes to mind? What are you thinking about when you hear that? And maybe you've seen signs like this.
Probably a lot of confusion, one, but also virtue signaling.
Yeah.
Like it kind of reminds me of the riots. Like I lived through the LA riots out here, and it didn't matter what color you were, you was putting Black owned on your business shop. So then hopefully, like the blood on the door,
yeah, that's right.
People would pass over.
Wow.
This is all we're doing. As long as I have my little rainbow flag on my front lawn, and I have my Black Lives Matter flag on my front lawn, I got my tree sign.
Just now.
My goodness.
Then the woke crowd, the crowd of the social justice warriors will pass over me. I am appeasing the gods of the social critical theories.
Okay, hold on real quick.
Yeah, she over here prodding.
Oh my goodness.
she protched just now.
What in the world?
Sheesh.
I mean, what? That's so obvious what she just said, and it's so profound. Yet, I haven't heard that. I have not heard that.
Oh, praise the Lord, because I ain't never said it before.
People are wiping their doorways with the blood of the social justice lamb, so that the social justice spirit passes over. And doesn't take, the irony is so that it doesn't take their firstborn. Meanwhile, they probably will be okay. So now,
that's a whole nother thing.
That's a whole nother thing. Let's get into this.
They up there singing, "Pass me not."
Oh my goodness! Look, hey, that shirt giving you some powers over there. You got the different cotton on your shirt. I don't she got the blended.
Stop it.
So Kamala gets the vice presidency. Ketanji is up for confirmation. She's a part of the Supreme Court justice. And when these things happen, we immediately see, statuses and posts like, now I finally have a hero for my Black daughter. I have a champion for my Black daughter and things like that. Does that bring joy to you? Is that something that should be preached against and taught against? Neutral, just leave it be? What do you say?
I honestly do think that to a degree, representation helps. So it's helpful for young men, to see older men to lead the way, to show them the way, to
Titus
speak
2.
into them. Yes.
Okay.
But they do that from a leadership position. I think that as far as our history in America and color and all that, could there be argument made that, Blacks need to see other Blacks and Hispanics need to see other Hispanics? I think I might be able to argue for that to a degree, but to the Christian, we should be looking for, not that this woman or this man, bears your same skin tone. That's not what the word says. The word says, like the older women should lead the younger women.
Yeah.
And the older men should lead the younger men. And it gives you a list of how they should be led. When we read through the scriptures, it tells you what are the qualifications of leadership.
Right.
It don't say the Black men lead your Black sons. Can I present a cultural argument that could possibly, or a psychological argument that says, hey, you know what, there is some weight and some bearing to that, possibly. For the Christian, the greater influence, the greater call is to lead people in the way that they should go, following Christ. Follow me as I follow Christ.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but in looking specifically at like Ketanji or Kamala, no, I wouldn't want my young Black daughter to follow them, because they leading you to the abortion mill.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then my young black daughter does what? Aborts her
Yeah.
baby?
Right.
Yeah.
My young
Right.
black daughter follows in the footsteps of someone who is a woman but can't define a woman.
Mm.
That just leads her into confusion.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
why, as Christians, we don't emphasize color over Christ.
Mm.
We need to understand, like, these are the biblical principles. This is the way that we lead our young, regardless of skin color. If skin color is there, great. But if not, trust me, you're gonna know how to walk today.
Mm.
Mhm.
So that seems like the Trojan horse, right? Because the conversation on race and people had such deep lusts for critical race theory, while paired with a lot of ignorance. I think to some people on the right, it was just boogie monster. They didn't know how to defend against, and to people on the left, it was this savior that was finally answering and giving us a cure for the sins of America. And I love the work that you've done on that, bringing clarity in that and highlighting the poison of it. But people thought that critical race theory was the fundamental, the foundation.
Yeah.
When critical theory has a nice little bag of a lot of different candies
Mhm.
regarding it. How have we seen the race conversation serve as a Trojan horse to invite to all these other clown world confusions that we're seeing right now?
Oh my goodness. Krista, my ministry partner, we've been having this conversation for the last 2+ years and telling people, instead of looking at it as like a Trojan horse, which I think is a great, way to see it, consider it more as like a train, a very long train.
Ooh.
And right now you only see the first car.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now, maybe you're walking up on a very big car. And so you're walking up on a very big train that has several cars. So you might not see the engine, but you've gotten to this one car, and this car says critical race theory. What we tell people is that the engine of critical race theory will be critical theory, but the cars that come after it are going to be critical queer theory, feminist theory,
Right.
critical child theory or critical child studies. They're all linked. They're all being driven by critical theory. So
Right.
it is always critical theory. You just add what you're applying to the critical theory to in the middle of that critical
Yeah.
race
Right.
theory. That's it. And so when people say, especially Christians, when they say, well, we need critical race theory to get rid of racism because racism is America's foundational sin. It's the worst
Yeah.
sin. I don't know why they think that it's the worst sin, but I'm not gonna go there.
Yeah.
But so we're just gonna take critical race theory. I don't want the LGBTQ plus stuff. I don't want the feminist stuff. I'm not for the child theory stuff. But what they don't see is that you don't get a choice.
Right.
Ibram Kendi tells you that plain. Like he says, you cannot be anti-racist if you are not also pro-feminist.
That's right.
Right.
You
Ten
cannot.
Commandments.
Yeah, you can't. Right.
Yeah.
They tell you straight up, if you are going to be an anti-racist, you are going to accept all of these other things. And people believe. My mother used to say, "You must not believe fat meat greasy." It took me a while to understand that. But what she's saying is you must not believe what's right before your eyes.
Right.
What's right before your eyes. And many people are telling you, but you just don't want to believe it. That this is really attached to many other social theories.
Yeah.
And how can you now say, in the language of critical race theory, we want to be inclusive? We want to be diverse. But when the homosexual guy comes into your church to apply to be a pastor,
that's right.
You don't want to be inclusive and diverse then?
That's right. Yeah. I think what bothers me the most, I was trying to have a conversation about this earlier today. I was telling Darren about it. It's so frustrating to have conversations with people who don't want to listen to you. Not in that everything I'm saying is right. I'm talking about we're conversing. I'll listen to you, and then it's my turn to talk, and you'll listen, but that doesn't happen, and so that's just frustrating. But what kind of annoys me is that you do all this fighting and you try to tell people about, hey, this is actually what it is. This is actually what it is. And they deny it. And then it turns out, hey, that's actually what it is. And it just happens. No one comes and says, oh, wow, it's so wild that once upon a time we were talking about black people. Now everybody seems to be gay. What is that? How did that happen?
Right.
Yep.
How did the conversation shift to the LG and the B to now completely erasing all those letters and just T? How did this happen? And to the point, we're lofting up women, and women, in order for us to loft you up, let's make you hate men, and let's get feminism in here. Oh, wait, and now let's destroy womanhood completely, and I know what'll stick it to the white man. Let's get a bunch of white men to dress up as women,
Right?
and let's have them win Women of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it just happens. And
It just happens.
No one, I'm not saying, Lord, I'm not saying I wish people would come back and be like, hey, yo, you was right. But sometimes I wish people would come back like, hey, yo, you was right.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look, he's still working with me. So I will clearly confess. Yes. That pat on the back, that time when you told me I was just whitewashed and a coon, but now your church is splitting.
Yeah.
Oh
man.
Yeah. If you could come
tearing
on back,
churches apart.
Yeah. Now remember when you told me I was just divisive, but now your pastor gay. Hey, can we chop
if we
it
had
up
the
real
funk
quick?
flex bomb, So now there was a time me and Talani were watching, and I think I texted Elisa when this was happening. It was like, oh, y'all got the 4 horsemen on here, because I forget what y'all were talking about.
Orange curriculum.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I came at the back end. My wife Talani was watching it, and I came at the end.
How you be texting Elisa? I ain't got hold up. Hold up. Let me just double check. Cause Lord, I don't see it either, Jesus.
So we, you know what? And I need to talk about you after this too. After this episode, I'll tell you what we were talking about. But it's very interesting that you all were doing that on Orange Curriculum, because, and I don't want to go too deep on the rabbit hole, but there are things being smuggled into churches because people are being discipled by books about Christianity rather than scripture. And so then you can have something like Orange Curriculum that comes in, and people are so scripturally illiterate that they don't know.
They can't sniff it out.
Yeah, they can't sniff it out. But all that to say, I was watching it, and somebody took some shots at the end. I didn't know what was going on, but I saw Krista get your attention, like, hey, look, somebody's taking some shots. And you did everything but this. It's like, okay, let me tie my hair up. I'm ready for it. We thought that was hilarious, but we loved how y'all handled it too.
No. That's a conversation for another time. But you're just not gonna talk to me any kind of way. Like I said, I'm still a work in progress. You ain't just gonna,
Lord knows.
You just not talking to me any kind of way and thinking you just gonna try and leave people in confusion about my character.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right.
Now I completely own my stuff, and have to humble myself. I've had to humble myself publicly, but you ain't gonna come up here and be like whoop talking all this and causing people to question my character. The devil is a lie, honey. I will let you know who I am and who I'm not.
Because what we've experienced is that those who come from the side of inclusion and tolerance and love,
passion,
compassion,
acceptance.
Sympathy, acceptance, they hate us the most.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And I don't mean to say they hate us the most out of so many people. I'm talking about out of the people we engage with and have conversations with, they're the most hateful.
The ones that attack us the most.
Yeah.
They're the most hateful.
Yep. And then when you say something, then you're crazy, you're bad mouthing people. Don't start a fight you can't finish.
Yeah.
Don't do it. And it's not to, I know that we need to be kind, we need to be gentle, we need to be respectful. And I'm there for all of that. Right. I am. And I feel like one of the things that Krista's really taught me is that when you look in scripture at how Jesus addressed leaders versus how he addressed the common person, you got two different things going on.
Exactly right.
When you show up as a wolf in sheep's clothing to come and pluck off a sheep,
that's exactly right.
Oh, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna go hard.
That's
I'm gonna
exactly
go hard because we're not gonna have our biblically illiterate sheep just being
Yeah.
plucked off here and there. We have to start speaking biblical truth and helping people to develop and to grow in their understanding of the scripture.
Love does that.
Right.
That's what makes me angry towards leaders who can watch it happen and say, "Well, the wolf looks hungry, and let him eat a little bit." What?
Yes.
So speaking of that,
Wait, I wanted to say something real quick because you said, these theories and stuff get smuggled into churches
Yes,
and books.
yes.
I don't think that they're being smuggled in. I would push back and say that they are being openly invited. To be a smuggler means that you keep it a secret. I think that for many, the pastors are not, if they were teaching the biblical truth, if they were teaching about repentance and sin, if they were teaching about sanctification, if they were teaching about the character of God, but they're not. You didn't just open the door.
Yeah.
You have opened the door and you just come on in.
Yeah.
They send people out to the culture. They look to the culture. They look to a Robin DiAngelo or to a Derek Bell or a Kimberly Crenshaw or Patricia Hill Collins or whatever and say, well, this is what they said, so we should do that too. You just bringing the pagans in to have a field day in front of your community.
In the name of niceness, being nice. In the name of being nice. That bothers me. Like Darren's shirt. Go back to yourself. That's a sample. That needs to get a little bit bigger, but I like that shirt. It's Ephesians 5:11. And Ephesians 5:11, I call the non-neutral passage. It's two things. It says, don't partner, but it doesn't stop there. Paul doesn't stop there. He says, but expose. Don't partner with unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them. Doesn't say, hey, stay away from that, dark stuff and the false gospel stuff. Just mind your own business. No. If you love those who are riding with you, then you're walking through a field of landmines. Is it loving for you to see one step over it and then stay quiet?
Right.
No, it's not loving. So let's get to a little bit of this documentary because I first impression, you watched it. It's very good, but it's a tough watch.
Yeah, it's a doozy.
Yeah.
It's a tough watch. First impressions after watching.
I thought it was very well done. I thought it was, I just thought it was done well. I thought it revealed a lot. Matt Walsh is a thoughtful Catholic. And so I thought from that position, from being a thoughtful Catholic and not necessarily an evangelical, I think he did a good job at holding true to just a biblical reality of the fact that God has made man and he has made woman.
Yeah.
I think I don't have much negative to say about it at all.
Yeah.
Could he have gone a little bit harder? Potentially. Could he have exposed more? Potentially. But I'm not aware of what his budget was, what his time constraints were, who he tried to reach out to and who, didn't accept.
Right.
And I think that he asked the question and allowed the culture to answer the question.
He did. It's pretty ingenious.
Yes. I didn't feel like anyone would be led. It was just, here's the question, please answer the question. So I thought that he did a very good job at just presenting what the culture would say. And when I say culture, I'm talking about, the academy, those in our regular culture who are the doctors and lawyers, who are the ones who are creating laws, professors. Yes. So I really don't have many, if any, complaint about it.
Darren, what came to mind while you were watching it?
I actually watched it twice. Because the first time I watched it, I felt like a huge troll. Like he was just like, I watch Matt Walsh's his talk show. He's a troll. Like literally, just even that clip we watched at the beginning, the little jabs he throws in there. Maybe I'll ask my wife. She hasn't told me she's a woman. With a straight face, right? He has this hint of comedy but it exposes something so simple, something that we already know, and that's what makes it funny. And he even mentioned this about the documentary. He said, people always ask him if he had to prepare, like how much he had to prepare for this. Had to take a lot of thought. And he said, no, I didn't prepare at all. It's such a simple topic. What is a woman? I have a very simple answer. And if it was something more difficult, then maybe I would have given it some thought. But no, this didn't take much thought. I just asked questions the entire documentary. I didn't make any truth claims. I just asked questions. And so I thought after the second time watching it, when I paid attention to that, I was like, wow, that is pretty genius. To just only ask questions. And from those questions, you got a myriad of responses. You got like the girl we watched, and like this I don't know, aloof, great question. Like such deep thought in such an easy question.
Yeah.
Which is weird. And you get people who are offended.
Yes.
Like, wow, use the word truth,
Right.
People who are genuinely confused by the question, don't have an answer. And I think that watching that it literally made me cringe. It was pretty cringy to know that. And it was also, it was all adults. These are people who are grown up struggling with the question, what is a woman? I thought that was pretty alarming, thinking about my children, them going to school. These are their teachers, doctors, professors. These are the people who will be pouring into them. No.
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 But I mean, grown up and highly educated.
Highly educated. So many
Yes.
degrees. So many. You mentioned one about the truth. I want to play that clip real quick, and then I want to talk about why the Christian must be aware of, one, what postmodernism is, and how we see it today and how we see it kind of plaguing society, which this documentary highlights, I think, very well. It's obviously concerning, but it's necessary. So I want to play this, and then we can talk about it.
I'm not so sure what social interactions would have to do with maleness or femaleness that would.
Well, I'm not even talking about social context. I'm just trying to start by getting to the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really uncomfortable with that language of like getting to the truth again. In social life.
Why is that uncomfortable?
Because it sounds actually deeply transphobic to me. And if you keep probing, we're gonna stop the interview.
If I probe about what the truth is?
You keep invoking the word truth, which is condescending and rude. I'm saying to you.
How is the word truth condescending and rude?
Why don't you tell me what your truth is? And you're walking on 30 seconds more of the nights before.
Am I wrong to say that the way that is approached and the way that the conversation on truth has been approached by leftist ideology is tyrannical?
You mean like them having monopoly on what the truth is?
Yeah. I mean,
tell me,
is that too much of a word? Is there a better word?
Tyrannical? Hold on, let's look up that word real quick. I think tyranny has a strict.
I know it. Yeah, I know it's in a government context.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mo?
I mean, exercising power in a cruel or arbitrary way. I would say, yep, it's tyrannical. Nailed it.
I mean, just based on the definition.
Yeah.
I think that truth is such a problem for the critical social theories that they have to get rid of. You cannot have truth.
Yeah.
You cannot have like hard truth, objective truth, because objective truth goes against the narrative.
Right.
And we can't have anything in the way of the narrative. We can't have anything in the way of like your personal flourishing, even if your personal flourishing is being impeded upon by hard data or objective truth.
I have listened to, we were talking to, what was her name? Candace, I believe. Constance.
Constance.
And we were talking about Jude 3. And I told her
Sleep.
I told her that I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago, I had stumbled across Jude 3. Somebody brought them to me, and I was intrigued because they were addressing apologetics from a perspective that I hadn't seen. I had seen the beliefs. I grew up around them, right? You grew up in the hood, five percenters, Black Hebrew Israelites, that all those things, those cultic, very smaller things that don't get addressed in popular apologetic culture. And so that was what intriguing. But then what started rubbing me the wrong way was I think they were called courageous conversations, I believe. And there is no landing point. It's just talking a bunch of stuff. And not only are they talking, because I'm okay with a discussion, but the discussion it goes hard against scripture. You have a side of people who are for Christianity and for the biblical Christianity. Then you have a side that's against biblical Christianity, yet they all identify as Christian. And I'm like, wait, time out. That pastor right there just said he doesn't believe Jesus is exclusively the only way. Can we talk about him real quick?
Right.
And that rubbed me the wrong way. And bringing this full circle, this idea that that's somehow virtuous in this postmodern society to say, look, Jesus is the truth for me, but I can't say he's the truth for everybody.
Yep.
Have you seen this? Have you addressed this at all? Have you Christians who might sympathize with that?
I do. I actually just read a book, and I'm not gonna name the book.
Okay.
Because it would just start way too much
Not
trouble.
yet. Mm-hmm.
But the author, I actually read it to write a review about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the author says, and he's a Christian. He says, as Christians, we cannot participate as if we have the truth, as if we have heard the way that we should participate with others as a word from God himself. But we have as a word from God himself. We have the book. We have God's word.
And he's a person.
Yes. So it's the that kind of thing where it's like we need to also make nice with the culture.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I get it. I struggle. I'll be honest. I struggle with the niceness idea, especially when Christians want to make nice and be nice and water down conversations that are meant to be true. They want to water down a truth for a culture that really wants to kill you and your God.
That's exactly right.
Right.
That's exactly right. She's spitting facts right now. That's exactly right. I think I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. I go to the Lord and I pray to him. I say, Lord, grant me patience and long suffering in conversations. Because people point that out, and even I disagree with them when they point it out. I'm disagreeing with them. Like, look, I don't think that's mean. But then I go to the Lord and I'm like, look, please help me with that. If it is mean, please help me. But if it's not mean, then keep me going.
And that's it.
Give me strength to keep going, because I don't ever want to bend on something that I was never meant to bend on.
Yes.
Because that's what I'm seeing all around me.
I'm going to start using that prayer. My prayer be sounding more like, Lord, I'm about to cut him. Can you please help me? If it's not your will for me to cut them, can you please take this cut from me?
Oh, man. Because it's real, because
it is.
It's tough. It's tough, not to make this sound like a pity party, but in today's society, being a biblical Christian puts you in the minority of the minority.
Yeah.
Yes.
You are not only are you a minority because you're identified as Christian and you're gathering with the saints, but you might be in the small little speck of hated people amongst the saints.
Yes. 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 Because now you got Christian brothers and sisters calling you coon.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct. Okay, let me ask this. I just closed my thing up, but let me ask this, and because we're running low on time.
Oh, I don't know when we're supposed to be done.
Yeah, that's right. You
I'm
didn't
just
get the
here. I'm
note.
just showed up.
Yeah, I respect it. We talked. So, well, we kind of just addressed it a little bit, but I think it's. I don't know. I have my thoughts. I'll get you guys' thoughts. Yeah, we're talking about truth. We were just talking about Christians being unwilling and in a very subtle fashion trying to depart from the fact that Jesus is the only way to God. This truth that is very sacred for all of humanity, yet we're willing to depart from it. And obviously, we're seeing around the church that they're willing to depart from a lot of things in culture. I believe that I'm seeing Christians being willing to depart from things they know to be true.
Yes.
Why?
You know what's just popped into my heart or my head as a like an example? Think about when the northern and southern kingdom, the Hebrew
Israel.
kingdom split. Yeah. And so you had, I believe, Jeroboam in the north. And he erected this temple, not wanting people to travel into the southern, kingdom.
Yeah.
He erected this temple. And this temple was supposed to be where they worshiped God, except it was a calf. But we just gonna overlook that part and say, well, if you just close your eyes and pretend that it's God, then this is gonna be where you can worship. And they had 2 worship centers in the northern kingdom, one in the southern part of the northern kingdom and one up in Dan in the top part of the northern kingdom. But what happened? They started out, we're gonna worship. We want to worship, like we want to do good. But what happened in the northern kingdom?
Doors wide open.
There you go. What we kind of start out with like a good little heart, because it's not the true worship, the way that God has created for us to worship. We now enter into a false worship. We enter into something that God never intended. And this is kind of what I'm saying. And I know this is a whole side tangent.
That's on point.
But when you look at the whole issues of justice, God has set up a way in the earth by which we are to treat one another, a way that we do justice.
Yeah.
But when culture doesn't like it, when it seems too difficult, for the northern kingdom, it was a long way to get to the temple down in Jerusalem.
Right. Ooh.
We set up another way to do it. We'll just do it like this. We'll still call it justice.
Right.
We just gonna add social to it.
Yeah.
It's a whole different, it's a different worship system. And it allows in other forms of worship. It allows in the culture. You started out worshiping a golden calf.
Yeah, right.
That you now call God.
Come on.
That's supposed to be a church. Come on.
You now are looking at this social justice, this fake form of worship, this fake justice.
Yeah.
Because social justice advocates for abortion. It advocates for wealth redistribution. It advocates for LGBTQ+. It advocates for cultural justice.
Yeah.
It is not advocating for the true justice that would happen if you centered yourself around the word of God.
Right.
Now, what happened in the northern and the southern kingdom? We see this in Micah. In Micah, it says that the sin, the ills, the stench, the infection of the northern kingdom has now trickled down into the southern kingdom. What are we seeing in our church? And I'm not trying to say that Micah is, some kind of prophetic version of 2022. I'm just saying you can look.
There's nothing new.
That it's not new. The issues that we see in this fake worship of social justice, this fake justice format, are now trickling into the church. And I would say it's trickled in so much that many of our churches are overtaken. But it started out, I honestly think, to a large degree in many churches, from people wanting to not be racist, to have good hearts, to be compassionate,
That's
They in Israel, they wanted to, still have worship. We just didn't want to go too far.
Right.
We didn't want you to go all the way down to Jerusalem. It's the same thing with the social justice crowd, especially in the churches anyway. How do we do justice but leave off evangelism? How can I address your poverty but not talk about your sin?
Yeah.
We need to get an
Anyway.
organ on the board.
Come on.
That's all we got. We got Joe's. Come on. I mean, we got to get a fan.
With Martin Luther King on it.
Yeah.
And Jesus on the back.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Or the
exactly
funeral
right.
home. The
From
the
funeral home,
You
right.
know the funeral home.
It's got to be it's Maybelline Jesus too. It's got to be. But
Anyway, I don't know where that came from or why, but it was something that you said that sparked that in my mind.
So there's something I just said. I was talking in the same conversation. I was saying. I said, "Hey, without getting into cessation and continuation, I believe that the office of prophet is gone. It's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Prophetic gifting exists,
Mhm.
right? The one of the main things a prophet did was take the Lord's people and point him back to his word and his truth by being a mouthpiece for God. We have the mouthpiece. It's binded together in Old Testament and New Testament. It's revealed. But he has a prophetic voice in his church that says, hey, y'all need to get back to this, back to the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that whole thing that James was saying, if you want to be a friend of the world, then you're an enemy of God.
Ooh.
Can you hear that? Can you see it playing out right now? Pastors, remember that thing you wanted to do when you left seminary, which was read the scriptures and then tell people what you read?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you get back to that?
Mhm.
Right.
You're talking about your thoughts too much.
Mm-hmm.
Get back to the scriptures. And we're going to start seeing more of those, and we're going to see them get ignored.
Mm.
I just believe that. And that's sad, but not everybody will ignore it. I've already seen the fruits of that. I've already seen the fruits of people who have testimonies listening to what Center for Biblical Unity has said. We've gotten that from people who have listened here. We've gotten it from, I heard it from people who listen to people like Frank Turek or Elisa Childers, or, there are so many Christians doing good gospel-centered work in social media, and you may never be known secularly, but you're known.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you, it's known, and the kingdom rejoices over it. So keep that up. I think we're gonna continue a little bit, but we're gonna keep it for our patrons only. So we're gonna close this time out. Mo, any last thoughts about What Is a Woman documentary that we probably didn't address, or if you had to tell people about the war on womanhood right now, one thing that you probably should pay attention to as a Christian, what would it be? I did just spring that on you.
I think if there was one thing that I would call people's attention to is how women are being promoted and men are being emasculated. And this isn't just a white man who's being emasculated so that the culture can continue to do, what it does and things like that. And we're trying to get rid of power structures. No, men are being emasculated. It doesn't really matter what your skin color is. The black male is being emasculated in many, many ways. You just go look on Facebook and that whole power ad for this new show that's going on. And this man sitting in here with Lee press on nails and a weave. His passion twist look better than mine. Like we need to understand that there is a war on men as well. If the male voice can be eliminated from a society, do you understand what chaos that will bring, what havoc that will bring? If all your men think that they women and we all need to sit up and have tea together, that's a problem. Your churches will collapse. You cannot have a church without a man.
We just we're seeing that already.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing that in a lot of men who have relinquished the role of shepherd. It's like, hey, you go back to the Old Testament and you read what shepherds did.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Bro,
Let me yoke you up with my staff.
Yeah.
Right.
Come on, man. Yes. Wow. That is a good word. That is a good reminder. And we need to be praying for our church.
Yes.
We know in the end we have hope that because the church wins because Jesus won.
Right.
Yes.
But the victory doesn't have to be as bloody. Maybe it does. Who knows? Because the seed of the church is the blood of martyrs. So, guys, we appreciate you guys tuning in this episode. If you haven't seen that documentary, What Is a Woman, go listen to it or go watch it. Go watch it. It's thought provoking. Even if you disagree with what we talked about, please watch it.
Yes.
Go watch it. That's what we need. We need conversations. We're also going to be doing a mini series. We've already started it. The first episode is dropping next week on biblical manhood. In addition to this. And so we're going to be doing a few of those, talking about manhood, headship, talking about fatherhood, lack of fatherhood, victimhood. We're talking about all that from a biblical lens, centering on biblical manhood. So check those things out and stay tuned.